Hey, remember that movie where Bruce Willis meets the perfect being after she crashed his cabbie and they went to a space cruise ship along with a priest because the military says so, to escort her to Egypt to prevent some big evil ball from destroying Earth while being chased by evil corporate man and his aliens? Someone made a racing game out of it, which I'm perfectly okay with that for some reason. New York Race, sound generic, is a Europe exclusive hovercar racing game based on Luc Besson's Fifth Element, made by Calypso. This was Will's second game based off the movie, and you know how that turned out! But when I was a kid, I didn't know there was another tie-in game before it, and I also didn't know about the movie, nor little small bits. Hey, what can I say? Less is more. It was released 4 years after the movie came out, and it was made for the PS2, PC, and Game Boy Color. The only version that I don't know is the last one. I'm a sucker for collecting both PC and console versions. What the hell is wrong with me? As I would have expected, Wikipedia doesn't have much information about it, other than the basic saying Eurogamer gave it a 6 out of 10 and remains fun only on short bursts. You may have remembered me playing it on an early video which Oliver Hopper used it when he was talking about it on his retrospective video on the Fifth Element. Harper, I like you. I love your videos. I know that one is 2 years, but at least accredit my channel, man. I'll be playing the PC version because using PCSX2 on my computer is a bitch. So you have this menu which gives you a selection of languages, making a new game and such. After you create a profile, you agree with an MFV of you leaving the garage with your taxi. After that, you can choose what mode you can play. This is apparently a prequel to the film, as the manual says it's 2215, which I guess the developers thought the movie is actually set 300 years since 1914 instead of 349 years. This is what happens when you make a mistake. I will mostly use the PS2 control scheme for my gamepad. So X to accelerate, the shoulder buttons make your hovercar strafe in a direction, square is to look back, and circle is to brake. Which is weird to me. Why would they bind circle as the brake button on the PS2 version? I stopped to make it more conventional, but even then, there isn't much use to it. The way the vehicle moves is as natural as it can get, and it almost reminds me of Descent. Bonus points for bumper cam. Amazing how I can recognize the left analog stick on my PS1 analog controller plugged into a dongle. Look how much freedom you can get here. You can turn while they are standing still, you can cause your car to understeer, hell, you can even get a boost by going down. The game is also a Mario Kart clone since it has power-ups on the course, and you use them you press the triangle button. I'll talk about it later. Tournament is where you score points on each race, and you must finish at least third to get to the next level. There are 4 tournaments that you must complete in order. In qualification, your only vehicle is this taxi that Coleman drove in the film. Hey, at least it looks accurate. This is where you also unlock cars and tracks. In these races, you compete with 7 other drivers or pilots or whatever, and each race has always 3 laps. You can pick up these elements which can be one of the 4 random power-ups that are beneficial to you. The water element creates a big bubble that can trap an opponent which slows him down at 150 kilometers an hour. The earth element creates a shield around your car and also replenishes a bit of your health. The air element gives you a big boost for a little bit of time. And the fire element lets you launch a fireball at your opponent. Aim lock included! Speaking of your health, there's a life meter in the game. You have to avoid as much damage as possible or you're out. You replenish your health by taking the earth element or past these green rings. There's 12 tracks in the game and are divided in 4 categories. And no, they're not called Manhattan, Brooklyn, Queens, and the Bronx. You have Jet Set, Middle Class, the Slums, and, oddly enough, Chinatown. Don't know how it expanded, but hey, this is the future. The director and the developers went all out on designing it, complete with a lot of product placement. I get Samsung and Paco Rabanne, but Seat? Orange? Orangina as well? Brands that never sold their stuff to the US? This is so weird. The tracks are full of chop turns, 90-degree turns, rotating obstacles, tunnels, unexpectedly explosive road signs, and even some traffic to make the scenery alive. My main issue is that the game is short. Sure, Gran Turismo 1 also have nearly the same amount of tracks, but at least there's a bit of variety and more championships. This one only has 4. Qualification only has 1, Shopping Street. Beginner has 2, Train Station and the Aquarium. Pro has 4, the Tankers, Asian Park, at least it isn't called the Orient Park. The Amusement Park, which looks less like an amusement park and more of an empty cubic circus. And the Sewers. And Expert has 5 tracks, the Astroport, DB Station, the Docks, the Motor Stadium, and the Dump. These tracks are good looking, except the slum tracks, they're too dark for me, but the rest looks amazing. The developers went very creative with the source material when making these tracks, although it makes the game look small most of the time. The sense of speed doesn't seem to help either, feels like I'm playing Revolt but with hover cars. Coming back at the length, you can finish the game in like an hour. On the first time. Oh, you won all the races the first time, but you still haven't unlocked all the cars? Well, you're gonna have to win all the tournaments again. Somewhat repetitive, but hey, at least most of the tracks are pleasant to my eyes. There's also other modes like Single Race, Time Attack, and K-Run, which is actually Knockout. Why can't they just call it Knockout? Why a foreign name? There's also multiplayer, but I don't think anyone will play with me, either online or locally. I don't think this game sold many copies. The cars are also divided in 3 categories: Speeder, Hovercar, and Cruiser. Speeders are fast and agile, but also fragile as well. The Cruisers can withstand much damage at the cost of speed, and Hovercars are the combination of the two and actually resemble cars. For some reason, even if your car that you chose has amazing handling according to stats, you still understeer. I don't think the brakes can do justice for this. These stats are a lie! Your opponents are characters of the movie, even the minor ones. Remember this guy? He was one of the butlers of the cruise. This guy? Yeah, it's that Karen Berger from the beginning of the film who was demanding money from Dallas. Unfortunately, he isn't in the game. Or, I guess you are Corbin Dallas, as you start a new game where the default name is, well, Corbin. But the game takes place in 2215, shouldn't most of the characters not be alive by then? Never mind, they probably used most of the budget on making these tracks and keeping that movie license. Well, most of it. Vito here is just called Priest in the game. The graphics haven't aged well. I played it at 4x3 960p for the review, and granted, this is a 2001 game, and it can achieve 60 FPS easily on my PC, but the graphics are a mixed bag to me. You have a medium-sized draw distance, which doesn't bother you much, but there can also be explosions behind obstacles from your opponents, so that you wouldn't know about it, unless you start the track. Some of the textures look a bit flat and blurry to me, especially on the buildings, but since it's a racing game, you won't mind much, unless you stop the car and care about the graphics that much. What I mind much is the slum tracks. They look monochromatic and too dark for me. I guess they tried to make these tracks as depressing and hard as possible, and, well, they accomplished that. The models for the cars are also creative. You have the taxi and police cars of the movie, but there's also other cars that are exclusive for the game. The sounds are alright. I love how you can hear the sound when you go down fast. The opponents also spew either quotes from the film or just big sounds, I guess. They can get a bit repetitive and annoying, but not for long. The music is great. The musical styles are corresponded by the themes of the tracks. Jet Set is all electronic jazz with a bit of orchestrated choirs. Middle Class is all funky stuff. Chinatown has the traditional Chinese culture instruments mixed with drum and bass. And the slums is all hip-hop, although I understand the lyrics since it's, well, in French. My favorite bunch are the Jet Set ones. They sound amazing as heck, although it could get repetitive and annoying as the songs only play on their respective racetracks. And what's with the name? New York Race? Even though there's more than one race in the game, they couldn't think of a better title than that. At least it isn't called New York Racer, because if it were, we would have major problems. So that was New York Race, and well, Eurogamer is right, it is fun on short bursts. You'll get a bit bored when playing the game for a while since it doesn't seem to have much variety. The tracks are creative, yes, but you're gonna have to race the tracks at least twice to unlock everything. The sense of speed is there, but the way the camera is positioned to the car make the game look like micro machines on air. The presentation is decent in general, and overall you should probably own it if you're into futuristic racers or a big fan of the Fifth Element. Hey, notice something different here? Yeah, it's my beard, isn't it? I should shave after this.